Thank you everyone for coming to Positive Vibes with Wally and Boone. If you don't mind, please start and introduce yourself and Boone.
Well, my name is Wally Majors. I recently retired from the city. And this is Boone, and Boone is my partner. I got Boone in about, I think now, it's about 6 years ago.
Awesome.
We were able to adopt him. Boone was in a program called Dogs for Disabled Veterans.
Mm-hmm.
He was being trained to be a service dog, which is the polar opposite of a therapy dog.
Mm-hmm.
And he got hurt playing with another dog in the program.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to drop out.
Aww.
But because we were volunteering in that program, we were able to adopt him. And at that time, we already got to know a lot of people in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So the city manager allowed us to have him basically become the city's therapy dog.
That's awesome.
So we were able to do that for several years. So got very lucky that I got to spend the last 6 years of my career with Boone working with me. He's a Labradoodle, which means he's part Labrador and part Poodle.
Mm-hmm.
But he's referred to as a multi-generational Labradoodle because it goes back several generations.
Okay.
So his mom and dad were also Labradoodles, so
Mm-hmm.
he's about as pure a Labradoodle as you can get. Well, he has to be able to take a test and demonstrate that he can follow my commands.
Mm-hmm.
He can show that he gets along with other dogs and other people, and he's comfortable in any environment.
Mm-hmm.
Whereby, especially when we go to places like the hospital, he has to know that that's time to work.
Mm-hmm.
And he also has to be comfortable enough that if somebody approaches him, he doesn't get intimidated, and people can touch him and pet him and be very friendly, and he has no problem doing that at all. Any dog can be a therapy dog. It's just how you handle them, how you train them, how you work with them. So no, I think it helps that, and it's certainly not at all a prerequisite, but the fact that Boone doesn't shed.
Mm-hmm.
Doodles are very popular now, Labradoodles, golden doodles,
Mm-hmm.
because they have hair like you and I do, so they don't shed.
Mm-hmm.
So they're very clean, and so unlike other dogs who shed, I have other dogs that shed, so there's always fur everywhere.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that they're not great dogs, also they are, but it's just the fact that it makes it a lot easier to maintain a very pristine environment.
Mm-hmm.
So when we do come to City Hall, if Boone is laying on the floor and he gets up,
Mm-hmm.
you'll never see any remnants, and so it is nice that's one big factor that allowed me to have that comfort level to bring him to work. For as long as I've had Boone, so I'd say at least 6 years now.
Wow, that's awesome.
He got involved the day, well actually even before that, when Boone was being trained to be a service dog, as part of that program, he was actually being trained by inmates
Mm-hmm.
at a local prison here in Palm Beach County.
Oh wow.
Actually no, in Martin County. And as part of our volunteer service, we would take the dog out of the prison environment from time to time,
Mm-hmm.
because we wanted to expose the dogs to things that they wouldn't have at the prison, whereby there's no young kids,
Mm-hmm.
there's no buses, there's no trains. So as part of our volunteer service, we would take the dog out and we would bring him to church with us. We would bring him to work. We would bring him to places that, again, he would able to experience things that he wouldn't have been involved with at the prison.
Mm-hmm.
So Boone was coming while he was still part of that program.
Mm-hmm.
Subsequently, again, when he got hurt and he had to drop out, he already had a lot of relationships here in the city. But at that time, since he was being trained to be a service dog, which is the complete opposite,
Mm-hmm.
when he had his vest on and he was working, you couldn't touch him. You couldn't
Mhm.
distract him. You had to focus on just what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So we were very, very lucky that when he couldn't be in that program, we had to kind of shift his mind
Mm-hmm.
so that he felt comfortable and knew he was then allowed to be touched and be, approachable by other people. So the real hard part of the training for Boone wasn't the fact that he could do at that time about 100 commands that he could follow. If Boone could turn on lights, he could help you fill the laundry basket, he could help you take off your shoes, he could put things up off the floor for you.
Mm-hmm.
But we had to teach him that it was okay for people to touch and pet him. So
Mm-hmm.
we really had to work on that, and coming to the city, that wasn't hard at all, because everybody wants to kind of, not everybody, but most people really felt really comfortable in having Boone around and giving him treats and making him part of the city family. So his training to become a therapy dog was actually a lot of fun. We've been to several assisted living facilities. We've been up to the Quantum House, which is at St. Mary's Hospital. That's for children with having leg and arm issues. But our primary service is at Bethesda Hospital. So unfortunately, when the pandemic started, that had to stop.
Yeah.
But that was mostly our routine visit was every weekend we'd go to the hospital. You know, I think just there are always going to be some people who are just not comfortable with the dog. So it would not necessarily be the person that needs the therapy, but it may be other people that may be related to or involved somehow with that individual who may not be comfortable with having a dog around, and that's okay. We understand that. We never take that personally. But other than that, I don't really see that there's anything. You know, we've never had in the 6 years that we've been doing this a negative experience. It's always been wonderful. It's always been a very positive thing. There have been cases where some people just didn't want the dog around, and we understand that. That there's nothing wrong with that, and we give everybody their due respect. But we really have had, I can honestly say, nothing but very positive experiences with them. It's very important to emphasize that they are not hypoallergenic. But the main thing is they secrete a lot less allergens. So I would say that probably in the majority of the cases, most people, will not have issues with allergies around dogs like Boone. There are some cases, even my daughter, for example, we happen to have another dog just like Boone at home. His name is Cassidy. He's a lot younger, but when he's in the house, my daughter has issues. And even though Cassidy's a Labradoodle too, they are going to be people that could be allergic to him.
The different chemistry.
Right. But in most of the cases, a very high percentage of the cases, most people don't have any issues at all. They're even they have other allergies, but generally with the dog, they won't have any problems. There's a lot. I'd tell you some of the most notable ones have been at the hospital. We do often go up to the hospice section, where, although it is very challenging at times to deal with situations like that, when you see somebody that is at that point of their life cycle, and when Boone comes in the room and they really open up and respond in such a happy, positive manner, it really, at times really takes your breath away, because you can really see that the impact is so significant, whereby it's just hard to really grasp the magnitude of that situation without actually being there. So, we had one gentleman who actually said he's ready to die after he met Boone, because he felt that fulfilled from the visit. And it's just one of those amazing situations. Or even where we have met a child who had no arms, no legs, and when Boone would come and visit him, he found a way to play fetch with Boone, which is hard probably to visualize. But this child found a way, despite his challenges, to sit there and play fetch with Boone for well over 30 minutes. And you realize that, what we would think, how could that even be possible? And until you actually experience that and you see that, you realize, wow, there was nothing that child could not overcome just because he wanted to play with the dog. So again, we've had a lot of wonderful visits with people, but and many are definitely very inspirational. But there's definitely been a few that kind of take your breath away and kind of take a deep look inside you and really realize that we got something special going on. And he does the work. I just told him. Boone does all the work, and you can tell this is the thing that you want from a dog, especially when you take him to a hospital. I think just the fact that we've been able to personally experience the impact that these dogs have, and the fact that it's such a rewarding experience. I think just human nature is such that most people appreciate being able to help others. I think, you know, I like tend to be an optimist. I hope most people are like that.
Yeah.
And so the fact that by doing that, well, you know, I've always loved dogs. I've had dogs all my life. So to be able to then take that to the next step was to share the dog and share the dog in such a way that it brings some relief or pleasure to somebody else. But as with most animals, they do like to have some type of a reward.
Oh.
Just like when we work, we like to get paid. There's no reason why dogs should be the same way, right? So let me see, Boone. Stand, please. Turn around.
Oh, good boy.
Bow for me, please. Sit. You wait. No, wait.
Good boy.
Down. Down. Sit. Let me see your belly. Let me see your belly. Okay, relax. Relax. Good boy.
Aw.
Sit. Sit. Can you speak? No, speak for me. Speak. Speak.
Oh, good boy.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. Quite a bit. We did a lot of visits at the senior center. And as you know, we have children all the time, summer camp and in all our programs. So it was very common that Boone would get involved with some of those programs. We also did a lot of activities where we would teach the kids about how to be safe around dogs. We did that at least a couple times a year, where it's very important that children learn that if you meet a dog, always ask before you touch the dog. Be calm around an animal, you know. And even in the way you approach them, you don't want to pet a dog from the top. You always want to put your hand out and hold it flat below them, because if not, they might flinch and be scared.
Let them smell you.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, Boone was used quite often just for educational purposes and to show that, you know, there is definitely ways that you want to behave around a dog. And quite honestly, some people just don't even have any sense of what they should do around a dog. And there's been cases where people have been extremely scared of animals, and that with Boone, they were able to overcome that. So, and that was one of the real gratifying things that we noticed, especially with the autism program at Congress Middle School, where you're dealing with children that have very strong sensory issues.
Yeah.
And the fact that you were able to overcome that obstacle with the dog was always something that we always very cherished a lot. You know? And even the teachers would tell us that having Boone was really something that the child responded in such a positive way that really gave us a sense that, you know, that's really worthwhile for everybody.